Last episode ended with the party adventuring out to the ruined city of Redwater in order to find a magic item for their greatest enemy after making a tenuous deal with her. They had now arrived outside of the partially destroyed walls of the city, and they quickly entered. Inside of the city itself, a majority of the buildings had been mostly reduced to rubble, and the road itself was littered with crater marks. Towards the center of the city, one of the only buildings remaining in good condition was a massive stone temple. Looks like that's where we're gonna go. Yeah, though, have any of you noticed something off? I can't put my finger on it, but something feels wrong about this place. Yeah, where are all the dead bodies? Yeah, that's it. If there was a huge battle here, then where have all the corpses gone? Maybe they all got up and walked off. After all, we did see that one dead paladin guy walking around the other week. I don't think I like the idea of an undead army hiding around here somewhere, so let's keep our guard up. The party continued slowly making their way through the city, until on a street halfway to their destination, they found a building that was in perfect condition. Large letters above the door read Vault Cube, and not a single part of the structure was anything less than in ideal condition, as if it had just been built yesterday. Interested, the party immediately entered. Inside was a small room, with a wooden desk taking up one of the walls, and next to it was a massive adamantine vault door. The party then proceeded to spend almost an entire hour attempting every single idea they could think of in order to break in. From using Merlos' skeleton key to just teleporting inside, but nothing worked. This is ridiculous. What's the point of a vault you can't break into? I've got an idea. Edith, we've tried everything at this point. How exactly do you plan on getting that thing open? We haven't tried the squirrel method yet. The squirrel method? Yeah, the squirrel method. Watch and maybe you whippersnappers can learn something about how real magic is done. Edith then got out a dead squirrel and used it as fuel to cast a fireball spell at the adamantine vault. However, when the spell hit the door, it immediately bounced back and ended up hitting the party. Watch out everybody, I think the door might be angry. The squirrel method has never failed me before. It must be the end of days. The apocalypse will soon be upon us. We must flee while we still can. The party soon left Vault Cube and returned to moving towards the temple in the center of the city. After another few minutes of travel, they found dead bodies in the middle of the street. Recent dead bodies. There were 4 of them, and they looked like adventurers. There was an archer, a paladin, a rogue, and a swashbuckler. The party clearly wasn't the first group that Silsira had hired to explore Redwater. However, more worrying than the dead bodies themselves was the state that they were in. They looked partially melted, the armor and weapons were corroded, and the bodies looked like they'd had parts of them eaten. Immediately worried, the party started to look around them, and that's when they spotted the creatures surrounding them. 2 large bug creatures had moved into the street while the party had been distracted, and now they were surrounded. The insects had large pincers, and there was acid dripping from their mouth. The party instantly recognized them as ant crabs, one of the most dangerous creatures on the island. They drew their weapons and combat swiftly began. The first few rounds of combat went by, and the party noticed that the ant crabs seemed to be playing the combat extremely safe, staying back and mostly just spitting acid at the party, and occasionally moving away to escape from the players' melee attacks. Impatient with how long the fight was taking, Edith got out one of the magic items she'd bought from Old Man Yarick's store in the last episode, the Staff of Chaos. It was a magic item that would cast a random spell every time it was used. She pointed it at the closest ant crab and activated the item. She rolled her dice and ended up casting the Mind Read spell on the creature. The only thought that she was able to detect from the creature's head was the phrase, "Delay until Hive Mother arrives." We need to get out of here right now. They're trying to stall us until their grandmother can show up and murder us. Do you think she'll have snickerdoodles? Those two look pretty weak right now. Let's just go all in, and I bet we can take them out before she shows up, and it'll be a 4 versus 1. We'll win that. The party then started using a bunch of their higher level spell slots and limited abilities in order to eliminate the two Ancravs in only 2 more turns. A few moments after the second Ancrav dropped dead, the ground beneath the party shook, and burrowing out of the road behind them was a massive Ancrav. Actually, maybe we can't win this. Let's run. The party turned and fled from the Hive Mother, deeper into the streets of Redwater. Soon they arrived outside of the temple they'd been traveling towards, with the Ancrav Queen right behind them. They sprinted through the doors to the building and slammed the massive wooden door closed behind them. After a few minutes of trying to break in, the Ancrav Hive Mother got bored and left to find new prey. The party took a second to breathe, and they finally got to look around the room they were in. The first thing they noticed was a massive statue of Saint Jimmy on the far end of the room, and in front of it was a large metal throne. The back wall was a stained glass portrayal of a knight in full armor, which the party immediately recognized as Sir Geraldus the Confident, who they had met on the road back in episode 12. The party knew they were looking for a secret room, so Tenebris walked up to the statue and knelt before it. The throne immediately moved back and revealed a secret staircase leading down. They descended into the secret tunnels beneath the throne room, leaving Edith's rat butler Hansel behind to watch their back. In the tunnels below, the party fought a few undead while they traveled through the various encounters, until eventually they arrived at the final room. There was a dead body, slumped over a desk with a knife stabbed deep into his back. The room itself was coated in a thick layer of dust, as if it had been sitting here undisturbed for hundreds of years, except for a small cherry wood crate sitting in the corner, which, while still old, seemed much newer than the rest of the room. Tenebris went over to the crate and began fiddling with the lock. Meanwhile, Jay took a look at the desk. Sitting in front of the dead body, there was a letter, now partially coated with blood that had long since dried. The corpse apparently used to be the Baron who had rolled over the city of Redwater, back before it had been reduced to rubble. According to the letter, there had been a mysterious army that had appeared from practically nowhere, and began killing everyone and everything on the island, slowly sweeping the landscape, until it eventually arrived at Redwater. The forces of Redwater had put up a good fight, but the enemy army had been led by a general known as the Chef, and soon the Chef's army succeeded and breached the walls of the city. The nobles all hid themselves in the secret rooms beneath the temple, hoping that someone would arrive and save them from the army. But nobody did. While they were trapped down there, the Baron wrote this letter to describe all that had happened while they were being attacked, and also to inform anyone who found it that their enemies did have a weakness. It was hidden in the city of New Ashton, and only by traveling there would the island be saved. After Jay finished reading the letter, he told the rest of the party what he had learned, then went to help with the cherrywood box. They tried everything they could, until Jay remembered that he had bought Merlos' skeleton key from Old Man Yarick's shop, and he used it to unlock the crate. Sitting inside was a small, pale crystal eyeball, along with a small piece of paper. The party immediately recognized the crystal eye as the item they had been hired to find, the Eye of Tarjan, and the small piece of paper next to it had 7 words written in large handwriting. The price must be paid in blood. Now that we've found it, I don't think we should give this to Sulcira. She's a bloodthirsty and corrupt noble, and if we give this to her, then she'll be able to find Merlos' mansion and take over all of Venzor. What about Cartbox? If we don't give this to Sulcira, then they're going to keep hunting us down. We're strong enough to fight Cartbox. No, we're really not. Did you not see that they had kitted their assassin out with Hellfire bolts? If we get hit by one of those things, we're dead instantly. We can't fight them. We could try to get into contact with Malvira and see if she'd want to team up against Cartbox. She's been able to survive this long, why can't we? More importantly, what's the point in surviving if it requires us to allow a tyrant to take over the continent? Alright, fine, you've convinced me. But what's your plan for what we do next? It's simple. I pay the price in blood. Tenebris drew his dagger and cut out his own eye, then replaced it with the eye of Tarjan. He blinked a few times, and suddenly he could see out of the magic eye, and in the air in front of him there was a magical line of light, a path which would lead him right to Merlos's mansion. However, the party was interrupted when Edith's pet rat Hansel entered the room again.
You might want to take a look at this.
The party followed Hansel back up to the throne room and saw a pack of boggards in front of them. They were led by a familiar spellseer who was wielding a staff with a skull on top of it. He had somehow survived the fight back in Silverwick, and in the weeks since then he had been diligently hunting the party down. He'd finally found them, and he wanted revenge.